Well, it's been a couple weeks since I've played with the sheep wagon project. I had a couple sets of wheels that I need to do. You're all aware of that. I did get the owner to come in and we talked about this stove that goes in. And like everything else, he would like it to be left just like it is. But could you please hold it together? These legs need to go on, and I'm not sure how I'm going to accomplish that because the bottom part is so rotted out. But there's a couple things that I did discover while I was kind of getting this ready that I'd like to show you. Well, this is the firebox, and this is the grate that is turned to shake down the ashes. Well, underneath this, when I picked this up off of this pallet that I had set on for so long, I found two things. One was I found the broken piece to the plate on top here that was broken, so that was good to find. And then inside there's cast sides, and this side was missing, but down underneath, the broken piece to this side was also there. I'm not going to really worry about installing that, but I was really happy to find this broken piece to the top plate, and I'm not sure if I can get this glued together. Possibly I could brace it on just enough to hold it, but that'll look better than this piece gone. I still don't have this insert here between the two plates. I might fabricate something there. He wasn't really too worried about it, but I was glad to find that. So when I was introducing you all to this stove that originally was in the sheep wagon, I was showing how the doors come off and the top could come off. And I did get the door to the firebox. I got it to open up. It was just a little rusty, not too bad. But now that he would like to save this just like it is, with the least disturbance, I'm not going to be able to take this top off to disassemble it to get it through the door. So before I put the back wall in where the window is, I would like to patch this together if I can, because I'll probably have to put it through that back wall to get it in. So I think the best thing to do is just turn this thing on its head. And try to figure out how I'm going to cobble this together where it will stand up on its own. It's pretty rusted out, but he likes it just the way it is. Remnants of some old mice habitation. So this is now the underneath side of where the firebox would be, and this is where the ash pan would be. It's missing, the door is missing, and he really doesn't care about that. His biggest concern is that it stays as much like this as possible. These are the remnants of the legs that were on it at one time. They had just little stove bolts that bolted them on. I can probably take some of this off. So if I get rid of the bottom of the stove itself, the legs might actually be, whoops, not too bad. I'm thinking I may need to build a tin frame that I could attach to this tin. It'll give me as much of a solid surface to attach to, and then be able to stove bolt these legs onto it. We'll see. So I've been scrounging through my scrap piles, and this is the top plate of a rear bolster, about 2.5 inches wide, and then I have one here that is pretty thin. So the back side and this side over here has the most amount that is gone because of rust. So I thought maybe I'd take this wider piece and kind of bridge that gap. And then this narrower one, I thought I'd put along the front and this side over here. Try to beef that up, give me something that I can bolt my legs to. These are my 4 legs, and I've got 2 that are pretty bad. This one is a lot rusted out here, but the top is mostly gone on this leg. This one is not good. This one's the best. This one's not bad, but it's pretty punky. So I'm going to take 1 inch off of these and put new holes in them. That'll allow me to salvage this one the best that I can, and it'll help me improve this one as well. He was completely okay with me having to lower these if that's what it came to, just as long as everything was kept the most undisturbed. So I'm going to trim them all off 1 inch. When I cut these stove bolt heads off, you know, there was some light tin underneath because there was a piece of trim that was put underneath those heads. It kind of fit around like so. It trimmed it out, plus it kind of helped add some more security underneath these bolt heads. So I made this piece of old strap iron into that same trim. It's about 3/4 by 1/16. And I'm going to try to fit it right around here and trim this out as well. I have to kind of finagle that up underneath there. Try not to lose my position. Well, the old bolts seem to be 1.5 inches in from the corner. And 1/2 inch in from this end. My clamp's right in the way. And I'll try to get these first ones and get those. So I'd like to transfer my iron inside as much as I can to the metal tin of the stove itself. So I'm also going to put a bolt in between and kind of sandwich that tin in between the two. Well, I have sandblasted and coated these bolt heads once, but I'll just add a bit more and keep them rusting. Well, I will have to admit, I didn't think it would turn out this well. It's actually pretty solid. So I'll see if I can fix that top plate. It would be nice to have them all kind of in one piece. Yeah, we'll see what I can do. So this is what I'm going to do. I sandblasted the edge and then a path on the back side of this plate that should take the brass. Now this is not an endorsement of how to fix this plate. If I put brass on here, this will not stand the heat if there was ever a fire put in this stove again. This stove is never going to see a fire. So I'm going to do it strictly on one side. I'm not going to do it on the top side that's visible. You're going to see the crack. My heat is going to distort the color, but hopefully this will hold it together for display purposes only. And since I have it clamped to my table, it's going to be a heat sink, so I'm actually going to use my cutting tip because it's going to take a lot of heat to override this welding table and try to get this glued together. Well, after this has had so many fires in it, it's kind of like trying to braze a manifold. It's got so much garbage in it. I put the main heat in with my Ketton tip, and then I switched to my brazen tip. And we'll let this cool off here, see if it works. If this were to be a plate that was ever used, I would use a nickel rod in here and actually weld this. But this should work for a patch. I think that'll work. I decided to put this broken one where it has complete support. I'll still have to figure out about this divider. I think I'll try to put it in. Well, I've been out rummaging through my salvage piles looking for that right piece of rusty iron that I could make this little divider on the top of the stove between these two cover plates. I never did come up with that exact piece of iron that I thought would fit, but I did find a 3/8 piece of oil-soaked, dirty, yucky-looking 3/8 plywood. And you know, this stove is never going to see a fire again. Why wouldn't that work? So I did some fiddling around and playing around, and this is what I came up with. I'm going to have to put my oil treatment on there to kind of blend this in. You think that'll work? You know, it's not exactly the same color rust, but it is definitely old looking. I think if I kind of blend that new wood down, blend it in, it's not really super obvious anyway. For a showpiece, I think it'll work. Beats that empty hole. Well, on the bottom of each of these legs is a little hole, about 3/16, that I can either put a screw through or maybe a 3/16 carriage bolt into this floor, because as this wagon is moving, we don't want this shifting around. But I'd like to put my stovepipe in and kind of see that before I position this in place. I might want to shift this just a little bit in and out. But I think for now, it came a lot further than I ever expected. But I think it'll work. Appreciate you coming along. Thanks for watching.